Okay, Ruchim Abayim, we're going to speak a few minutes about Parashat Behar and try to connect it with what's happening right now, which is Sfirat HaOmer, right? What's the Parasha of Behar? It says the first mitzvah in the Parasha is Mitzvah Shemitah. It says Behar Sinai, Lemor. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu Behar Sinai. No, Behar Sinai was Parashat Yitro, right? What's Behar Sinai? And then it says Shemitah. And Chazal say, Ma inyan Shemitah etzel Har Sinai. So Chazal ask, what's the connection that you juxtapose? You put Shemitah next to Har Sinai. The Torah deliberately goes out of its way to say it was Behar Sinai and then Mitzvah of Shemitah, right? Connects them together. And Chazal say, whoa, Ma kesher. What's the connection? There's no connection. Har Sinai and Shemitah. So they say no. Just like all of the details of Shemitah was given in Har Sinai, so too all of the mitzvot that we got, all of them, that we got the details from Har Sinai. All of the details of mitzvot we got in Har Sinai. Now we have something very similar to this also in the beginning of Pirkei Avot. Now we are in the period that Klal Yisrael historically, they learn Pirkei Avot. Many Sephardi shuls, at the end of Musaf of Shabbat morning, the Rav goes up. Well, nowadays some people do. The kids, they go up and sing it. But the Rav would go up and read the entire Perek of Pirkei Avot, right? 6 weeks after you finish Pesach, you have 6 weeks left to Shavuot, basically, right? So the 6 prakim of Mishnah Pirkei Avot, they will finish in those 6 weeks, right? But now we're doing, right now, in Shabbat afternoon, we have a whole shiur, 1 hour on Pirkei Avot because of this, right? Once I had it, it's a very popular shiur, very much encouraged to come, right? For the plug. But that's the minhag of Klal Yisrael. Now, Pirkei Avot, in the beginning, also says the same thing. Moshe kibel Torah Misinai u'mesarah li Yehoshua. Just like we have Behar Sinai, Parashat Behar Sinai. So the Pirkei Avot also starts from Har Sinai. Moshe kibel Torah misinai u'mesarah li Yehoshua. Moshe Rabbeinu accepted the entire Torah in Har Sinai and he gave it to Yehoshua. Yehoshua gave it to Zekenim. Zekenim gave it to Nevi'im. Nevi'im gave it to Anshe Knesset Gdolah. Right? And the chain, Rambam actually is very interesting. Rambam was what generation after Moshe Rabbeinu? Okay, say something. Say something. Huh? Rambam. How many generations after Moshe Rabbeinu? Huh? No, more. Generation means every person, like, if I learned Torah from my Rebbe, so I'm the next generation. How many Rebbe Talmids from Moshe Rabbeinu to Rambam? 100, you say? About 100. 200. I feel like an auctioneer now. 300, right? Auctioneer. 1, 2, 3, Zacha. Right? Rambam counts from himself back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Did you know that? The beginning of his work, he counts really the other way around. He counts from Moshe Rabbeinu down to himself. Exactly. Moshe Rabbeinu told you should give to this, and I learned from him. And you go through counting them.
Think so.
Yeah, of course, but the number of generations, I thought it would be like 200. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was like 4,000 years ago, 3,400 years ago. We think it's like so removed, right? It's only 40 generations. That's it. 40 generations. Now, I have even a bigger news for you, right? I say this every Pesach. There is the power of Seder night. The power of Seder night is the connection of generations. I still remember my grandfather, Alav Shalom, every Pesach we were first night by them. Mamash, all the uncles and aunts and everyone, all the cousins, everyone was there, right? And he would say about his memories from, when he was born. And I wish if you didn't go to Eretz Yisrael and we were not here, my kids will hear from him. Like my 5-year-old would hear from him what he saw, 85 years before. So you have a memory that connects, right? Collective memory, they call it. In sociology, they call it collective memory. What does collective memory mean, Victor? It's like this. If for instance, this past year, my wife's grandfather passed away at the age of 101. The last week of his life, I was speaking to him. His memory was sharp, like a razor. He remembered everything. So he was telling my 5-year-old, right, things that he saw in his birthplace when he was 8, 9, that his grandfather told him from his memories. So that's already like 160 years worth of time that he just told first hand to my 5-year-old. Right? Now my 5-year-old, Bezrat Hashem, when he's 90, he's going to say to his great-grandchildren what he heard from him. Right? And they, when they're old, they could say it over. That connects it to another 170, 150 years. That's called, in sociology, this is called collective memory. So collective memory of a Seder night is 350 years, 340 years, the Erech. How many of those nights do you need to go back to Moshe Rabbeinu? 9. That's it. You have 9 Pesach Sedarim and you're back on the lap of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So why is it that we start the Pirkei Avot, which is Musar? Pirkei Avot is Musar. It's the most amazing Musar Sefer ever. Why do you start it with Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai Umesara Lehoshua? Because, says the Bartenura there, says, you know why? Because we want you to know that even the Musar, even the Midot Tovot, that the Sefer of Pirkei Avot is filled with this. We would think that it's like, the New York Times has a column. It's called it's about etiquette and ethics, right? I'm not remembering exactly. It's the ethics column. So some guy every week writes a column on how a person should act, how a person should be, right? Where does that come from? From what's popular right now. For instance, those who are old enough, remember, in the 70s and 80s, the doctors in America, even, in the West, in Europe and America, 75% of the doctors, right, this is 40 years ago, they said if you assist a miscarriage, not miscarriage, but a abortion, if you assist an abortion, you're a rasha. You are a murderer. This is America. Now what do they say? If you don't help, you're a rasha. Right? Mamash. Now 75% of people say, what do you mean? If she wants to get an abortion, what the hell are you going to do? What do you care? Just let her get an abortion. Right? It's the woman's right. It's the woman's pro-choice, they call it. Pro-choice. Her choice is important. You're killing a human being? Okay, You see how the ethics change. The Torah, the ethic of the Torah is an old-time ethic. It's not changed because it's Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Umesara Yoshua. Now, the importance of Midot is emphasized in this generation even more because we have the craziness of the goyim around us that we don't even know what, people have a hard time determining what gender they are nowadays. Like, mashuga, mamash. Right? We live in a crazy generation. But nevertheless, the importance of Midot has been emphasized in the Gemara in this period of time of Sefirat HaOmer more than any other time. Kaf HaChaim writes, in this period, from Pesach to Shavuot, you have to be super, super careful with machloket. Super careful not to have any rift, any machloket. Why? Because of what happened to Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. Now, what happened to Talmidei Rabbi Akiva? What's the story of Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva was an ignoramus person. At age 40, he barely knew Aleph Bet. Nothing. He was not from. And the Gemara says that before he was from, he hated the Torah scholars. He hated them. Right? He would say, if you give me one of these Torah scholars, I will bite them like a donkey. That's what he would say. So how it happened that Rabbi Akiva became this sage? The Gemara says in Masechet Ketuvot, on Daf Samech Gimal, right, page 63, the Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva was Sanua Umali. In other words, the daughter of one of the richest men alive. The name of the man was Kalba Savua, right? Kalba Savua was one of the richest billionaires of the time, and his daughter Rachel wanted to marry Rabbi Akiva. Her father was so against it, to the degree that said, if you marry this boy, I will completely write you off my will, not a penny gets to you, right? And she said, I don't care. She went and she married Rabbi Akiva, and they went to live in a stable. Because he wrote her off completely, right? So the Gemara says, what did she see in him? What did she see in him? And Gemara says, he saw her that it was Sanua Umali. He had good midot. Didn't say he was genius, right? It was genius. Sanua Umali. Now, Rabbi Akiva, I want to just take one moment to tell you what the Gemara says about Rabbi Akiva. Listen to this. This is a Gemara in Masechet Menachot. Most people don't learn it because Menachot, who learns Menachot? In Daf Kaftet, page 29 of Masechet Menachot, the Gemara says, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the Torah from Hashem, he metzao la'akadosh baruch hu shaya kosher ktarim leotiyot. He saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu was making the tagim of the Torah. You've seen in the Sefer Torah, in the actual Sefer Torah, you have tagim. The shin has 3 tagim on it, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, he says, Mi ma'akev al yadcha? He says, what are these for? What was tagim? What do you have? Crowns on the otiyot? And Hashem says, La'atid lavo, in future, Lesof kama dorot, after some generations, he's going to be a Jew. Akiva ben Yosef Shemo. Right? His name is going to be Akiva ben Yosef. And he is going to explain tilim shel halachot. Truckloads of halachot on every one of these crowns of the Torah. Now, by the way, Rabbi Akiva's father, who was Rabbi Akiva's father? What type of lineage did he come from? Which Rosh Yeshiva was his grandfather? Nothing. His father was a goy. Did you know that? Yeah. His father became a ger tzedek. His father became a ger tzedek before he was born, right? So Rabbi Akiva is ben gerim. He was a child of a ger tzedek. No lineage. To the degree that the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, and Daf Kaf Chet, on page 28 of Masechet Brachot, the Gemara says that when they wanted to change the leadership in Klal Yisrael, they wanted to have forced resignment to Rabban Gamliel, because the Chachamim were unhappy with something that he did, that they felt it was insensitive to Rabbi Yehoshua. They said, we're going to resign him from being a Nasi. Let's appoint a new Nasi. Who was the top candidate? Of course, not Rabbi Yehoshua. It was Rabbi Akiva. Let's do Rabbi Akiva. I said, no, we can't do it because he has no zechut avot. If we hurt the feeling of the Nasi, we're afraid something bad is going to happen to Rabbi Akiva because he doesn't have zechut avot, because he was a ben gerim, first generation after gerut, right? Now, this Rabbi Akiva, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, says he's going to explain tilim shel halachot on every crown of Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I want to see him. Show him to me. He said, okay, sit back. Shows him the Bet Midrash of Rabbi Akiva. All these 24,000 Talmidim are sitting there. Rabbi Akiva is darshaning. Okay. The next sentences that I'm going to say, no man alive could say if he didn't write it in the Gemara. It says it in the Gemara. So, what kind of man yese? And you אומר לכם מה הגמרא אומרת. הגמרא אומרת את זה בפירוש. Right? The Gemara says this clearly. I'm just going to the Gemara. Where it says Moshe is sitting there, unable to understand what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Chalash da'ato. He got down. He's like, whoa. Until he said, how do you know this? Is Halacha Moshe Misinai. Now, the truth is, the Maharal of Prague, the holy Rabbi Yehuda Levi, of 500 years ago, one of the greatest luminaries of Torah that explained and shed light to the agatas of the Gemara, he writes in his Sefer Tiferet Yisrael and Perek Samech Gimal, in chapter 63 of his Sefer Tiferet Yisrael, he explains that this is not that Moshe Rabbeinu was smaller than Rabbi Akiva. It means that Rabbi Akiva attained a certain level in the pratiyut of the Torah, not klaliyut, of the Torah that even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have. Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine such a thing? Within 24 years, right, he had 24,000 Talmidim, Rabbi Akiva. Have you ever seen 24,000 people together? Like you go to Yeshiva of Lakewood, you go to Mir Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, you go to Lakewood. Lakewood is no longer a yeshiva because it's a town. And yet how many Talmidim they have? 10,000. It's a lot. 10,000 is like 7 different Batei Midrash. Each one of them is hopping, there's no seats, there's no room to sit. Right? And that's just 10,000. Imagine 24,000 people walked with him everywhere, who learned with him every day. Right? Get that. And all of these people perished. All of them, every last one of them died within 1 month. Can you imagine how many funerals that is every day? Right? On Shabbat they didn't die. On Shabbat they didn't die. So do the math. Right? Within 33 days, boom. Everyone. He lost everything. Why did this happen? The Gemara says, and I'm going to tie this back, time allowing, to what we started with. The Gemara says, Al Shelo, these are the words of the Gemara, the Holy Gemara. Al Shelo na'agu kavod ze bazeh, because they did not properly respect each other. They didn't properly respect each other. Right? And because Rabbi Akiva is the epitome of sensitivity, Sanua Umali, the Rebbe is, what does Rabbi Akiva say? If you squeeze the whole Torah in one drop, what is that drop? The Gemara says it. Amar Rabbi Akiva. Right? People sing it, kids sing this, right? You know it. Amar Rabbi Akiva, right? Ve'ahavta l'ra'acha kamocha ze klal gadol b'Torah. Rabbi Akiva said, if you squeeze the entire Torah in one encapsulated message, that message is ve'ahavta l'ra'acha kamocha. You gotta love people. You gotta be there for them. You gotta respect them. Kavod chavercha chaviv alecha keshelcha. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, the kavod of your friend should be dear to you. Should be chaviv alecha. Love it like your own kavod, right? Because Rabbi Akiva is that person. If the Talmidim did not follow the Rebbes, the rabbis' lessons, they only learned the Torah, but not the Midot. They're geniuses, these Talmidim. But they didn't learn the Midot of the Rebbe. You don't get to learn from him anymore. Right? Now, this is all in the Gemara in Masechet Yevamot, Daf Samech Bet and Samech Gimel. Right? That we just mentioned. Now I want to tell you a piece from Avot the Rabbi Natan that says exactly what Rabbi Akiva saw the problem was. The Gemara doesn't say what Rabbi Akiva said. Right? The Gemara doesn't say it. The Gemara just says afterwards, which is actually equally important. The Gemara says after this happened. By the way, or once I'm at this, why do we celebrate Lag BaOmer? Right? 2 nights from now is Lag BaOmer, right? So why do we celebrate Lag BaOmer? Because what happened? They stopped dying, right? That's what it says. So you celebrate because they stopped dying. Now I have a question for you, right? They stopped dying. How many of them are left? No, 0. All of them died. So you celebrate what? Because they stopped dying. There was no one more to die. Everyone died. Every last one of them, everyone died. So what are you celebrating? You're celebrating what? That they stopped, that they all died. What's there? So listen to this. The Gemara says that day, I want you to think about this. Rabotai, think with me together. Imagine he just lost everything. 24,000 Talmidim, life's work. Funeral after funeral, he knew all these people. Like he had built these people for 24 years. The last day, on Lag BaOmer, he got up and he said, we're starting over again. And he didn't wait for people to come to him. He got up and he went at Sheba Rabbi Akiva etzel Rabotenu shebedarom. The Gemara says he got up and he went to the Negev, to the south, and said, "I'm starting over again." 5 students. So that celebration, that he didn't get depressed. I would get depressed. I would probably be clinically depressed for the rest of my life on pills, and who knows, maybe commit suicide. No, who knows what, right? But it's more than that. When he assumed this new 5 Talmidim, Avot Rabbi Natan says, you know what he told them the first day? He said, Al tihyu kechaverechem. He says, please, I beg you, don't be like my other students. Now you want to listen what he has to say, right? What's the message? Says Rabbi Akiva, because they haya enehem tzara zu bezu. Their eyes were narrow. That means they couldn't see the success of the other person. You think they were saying lashon hara, and they were no. They were good people, but you know what the problem was in their high level? The problem that they had in their midot was they were not happy for other people when they grew. They were not happy. They couldn't see the success of somebody else. They wanted to be the top. They wanted to be the best. If they could withhold some information from the next guy that I should have something over him, that's what they did. They didn't have the eye to see the other person's success. Rabbi Akiva says that's why, because I stand for the ahavta l'ra'acha kamocha. If you could bring about someone's success, do it. That's my whole message. And they failed to live up to my message in life. The entire Torah is in this message. And they failed to see it. They failed to do it. So that makes it that we realize, this midot that we have is all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Should start, please. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe kibel Torah. It's part of the Torah Misinai. It's not just a nice thing to do. If you don't do it, you have missed the boat. You could be one of the greatest Tanaim. These are great Tanaim, students of Rabbi Akiva. You could be the greatest of the Tanaim. If you miss the fact that these midot are all from the Torah, then you haven't done the Torah. It's not just nice things to do, a midat chasidut to do. No, this is the core element, structural things of the Torah. And that's why Rabbi Akiva became so great. Because a person that becomes one with Klal Yisrael, right? Person that loved Moshe Rabbeinu, why does he become Moshe Rabbeinu? The Chazal say, because he was including the 6 million neshamot, the 600,000 rather neshamot of Klal Yisrael, because he loved so much. When Hashem wanted to kill the Jews, he said, Mecheni nam, he said, kill me first. Over my dead body you could kill them. I don't let you kill them. You see the love of a leader. Rabbi Akiva was exactly that. That's why he became the second Moshe Rabbeinu in Torah Shebaal Peh, in the Pratiyut of the Torah, because he loved people. So when you love somebody, you become one with them, right? And that becomes part of the Torah that we have. We're all intertwined together. Kol Yisrael, Arevim ze baze. We are interconnected. And it's interconnected. It's not just a nice thing to say. We're interconnected. We're interconnected. Mamash. And that zchut, that's the greatest one. Once we're walking towards Shavuot, accepting the Torah, the greatest lesson to accept the Torah is this. First and foremost, seeing that all of the people that are sitting around this table right now, we are mamash ke'achim, like brothers. We are achrai for each other. To see to it that the other person succeeds. You know some good information, tell him. You know how you could succeed in business, tell him. Right? And that's the greatest zechut b'ezrat Hashem for us.